It's been in the works. I mean, Joanna and I have been to these Apple events for the last several years, and it's always funny to see Jony Ive out there looking at the products, and I would always joke with my colleagues, he's seeing it for the first time. He's been relatively checked out for the last 4 or 5 years.
Why?
The last major product he did was the Apple Watch, and he's worked on the Apple Park, like you said, but as far as where the technology is today, there's not much for him to do. You know, every few years they had a revolutionary new product, the iPod to the iPhone to the iPad to the Apple Watch. The technology has hit this limit. There's nothing for him to really create, so he's bored.
So he's been working on incremental
exactly.
changes.
It's incremental changes versus
products.
max changes.
Yeah, as Steve said, the last big new product was the watch. And the question is, what is that next new big product, right? We've all been hearing maybe it's glasses. Maybe glasses might have been the last thing Jony Ive had been designing in his lab. Maybe they're not quite ready. Obviously, they're not out yet. But maybe this was the mark. He felt comfortable. I saw that in his interview with the Financial Times. He said this was the natural or gentle time to leave.
Right, but that's interesting because now it makes me wonder if, while we've said, oh, what's it mean for Apple, what's it mean for Apple, what does it tell us about Apple? You guys are suggesting there was no reason for its most important designer to stick around because there wasn't really anything to work on.
There was no product pipeline.
Yeah. I mean, I think there was a product pipeline. I just think the need to reinvent what the phone looks like is really hard to keep doing. I mean, when was the last time your phone really changed in shape or design?
Does that mean you forgive him, or he was never at fault? Because I think you point out, importantly, they have had a number of design blunders in the last couple of years. There were faulty MacBook keyboards. I think that's still an issue.
Going on.
Yeah. A light leakage around the iPhone XR notch, or 10R. I don't even know what that means. The Apple Stylus Pencil charging issues. So have those blunders been an indictment on him, or does it suggest he wasn't really involved?
I have a big peeve about the keyboard. I wrote a big piece about this a couple of months ago because my keyboard broke, and I was so excited about this laptop, but the keys kept double pressing or not pressing at all. And as I spoke to a ton of people about this, and they really attributed it to the thinness. The obsession with the thinness, Apple's obsession to make things thinner and thinner. And we've always heard that that was one of Ive's biggest principles. And so did the thinness cause the keyboard to not work? We don't, Apple's never confirmed that, but there certainly seem to be signs that it had to do with design.
You can never be too rich or too thin, right?
No, it's the Jony Ive minimalism, right? We've gone from minimalism to incrementalism.
That feels to me like a production execution issue more than a design issue, but I guess one follows the other.
Yeah, sure. And
he signs off on it, too.
Yeah.
He's the guy at the top who has to sign off ultimately on these things. So.
Yeah, and as you're pushing and pushing to get these things thinner and thinner, there's going to be a limit.
And that said, we're talking about a laptop that's been around for 30 years, and the only thing left to innovate is just how thin it is. So who then is in charge design-wise at this company? How important is that going to be, Steve? Yeah,
well, at the very, very top, it's the COO, Jeff Williams, who's ultimately overseeing the design group. And that's an interesting choice. There's no other Jony Ive. There's no Jony Ive Jr. in Apple right now. So it's Jeff Williams, who is more of a, he's seen as not a product guy or a designer. He's seen as more as an operations guy in the same vein as Tim Cook. So it's an interesting choice to have him ultimately overseeing the design group.
An operations guy, the ultimate insult from a design, in the
For
design
tech company.
community.
Where does he rank in the great sort of pantheon of industrial designers?
Man, he's up there, right?
He's really up there.
With Lowy and others,
Yeah, and you mentioned all of those products as you started the segment. I mean, those are iconic products. They are beautiful. And he's certainly a design genius.
Yeah.
I mean, no other tech company has had so many hits when it comes to both the design and the functionality of these products.